Latest from Turkey. Let's go now to our correspondent in Ankara, Jasper Mortimer. Jasper, what can you tell us about the state of the rescue response underway at this time?
Well, so far the response seems to be impressive. As soon as I turned on television before dawn this morning, I saw dozens of rescue workers clambering over the site of these concertinaed buildings. Today, at about lunchtime, Turkish time, President Erdogan said 7,000 rescue workers had been deployed and more were arriving. Television cameras have gone inside the Natural Disaster Agency's headquarters here in Ankara. And again, before dawn this morning, you saw scores of people manning the telephones, looking at the computer screens. All in all, they're facing a tremendous task. Nearly 3,000 buildings have collapsed across 10 provinces. Now, how do you rescue people from underneath all those buildings over such a wide area? It's a Herculean task, but people are tackling it. They are getting out there. The state is asking people not to use the roads unless they're in an emergency situation, because the roads must be clear for emergency vehicles to go down. Mosques have opened their doors for people to take shelter. It's cold down in southeastern Turkey now. In Malatya province, when a number of buildings have collapsed, you can see the rescue workers are working in snow. This means that any people alive under that rubble are in danger of freezing to death. But the work goes on. There has been a video posted on social media from a little town that I'd never heard of in the southeast, Kırıkhan, in Hatay province, where a person filmed the destruction. Lots of things had fallen down in his street, and then ended his video with a body lying face down on a balcony. And he was complaining that the Natural Disaster Agency workers were nowhere to be seen in his town, and this body hadn't been removed. Now, this reminded me of the response to an earthquake in 2011 in Van, a city which received two earthquakes within weeks of each other, and more than 600 people were killed. Now, at that time, I remember walking around the earthquake sites, and a number of people told me that the government's response was inadequate, and they thought it was response because the residents of that area, were Kurds, and that if the earthquake had occurred in Western Turkey, the response would have been much faster. Now, I don't know whether that accusation will be made today. Many of the people in today's earthquakes are also Kurds. This is the Kurdish stronghold of the country, the southeast. But President Erdogan is facing elections expected on May the 14th. That's 3 months from now. So he's got to make a good impression in tackling these two earthquakes today for political reasons.
So, Jasper, a huge Herculean effort for recovery right now, but what about preparedness? Did Turkey have a plan in place for the infrastructure in place for an earthquake of this size?
Turkey has a very active, very well-resourced natural disaster center, and it gets lots of practice because every 3 or 4, 5 years, there is a major earthquake in some part of the country. The last one was in 2020 in Izmir. Turkey is very good at responding to quakes. The whole country rallies around the stricken town or cities. Municipalities on the other side of Turkey will send firemen to help with the rescue work. They'll send soup kitchens to feed the people who've been rendered homeless. But Turkey is very poor at enforcing its building codes, making sure that buildings are built so as to be earthquake proof. It's very poor at making people evacuate unsafe buildings and demolishing the unsafe buildings. When I reported the Izmir earthquake of 2020, it was found that two of the buildings that had concertinaed into rubble had been found already to be unsafe. But the authorities had not got around to making the residents evacuate and knocking the buildings down.
Now, Jasper, you have lived in Turkey for 15 years now. As you said, earthquakes are a common occurrence there, but these two huge earthquakes back to back, how are people responding to this?
This frightens people. We've had two separate earthquakes. This has been made quite clear by the authorities. The second quake at nearly 1:30 today was not an aftershock of the first. It was a separate quake. We've had two quakes in 9 hours, 10 minutes. And a lot of people, including the authorities, are worried. In Ankara, where the second quake today was felt, the light in my lounge here was wobbling. The government has told all civil servants in the ministries to go home. In the southeast, in the stricken area, schools have been closed for a week. People are nervous. As I said, one's had quakes within weeks of each other, as in one in 2011. But I've never seen in my time two separate quakes within hours of each other.
Jasper, thank you so much for that update from Ankara, and we will be checking in with you throughout the day, of course.